Hello there. Welcome to my presentation of culture and diversity. It is impossible to give a complete education on Black history in such a small amount of time. Therefore, I am going to concentrate on one area that I imagine you may not have heard about. Throughout our education, we have been taught about America. In the kindergarten, we learn about the American flag, what the red, white, and blue represent, the stars associated with the growth of America, and we even learn the Pledge of Allegiance. From grades 1 through 4, we begin learning about the discovery of America. If you were in school before the 80s or in the 80s and the 90s, you were taught that in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and that in looking for a route to India, he discovered America. Somewhere between grades 5 through 8, we learned about the first settlement of Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. If I asked you to name some famous ships to go along with that history, I'm sure you would be able to rattle off the most famous ship, the Mayflower. Would you be able to recognize the ship named Ascension, Antelope, Brooks, Desire, Hope, or the Wanderer? Would you also know why 1619 is an important date as it relates to Black history? This date was not taught in school when I was attending in the 80s, all the way through 1999 when I graduated high school. I imagine it's still not taught to this day. It was in 1619 that the first Africans were brought by English privateers who had captured a Portuguese slave ship. From this day forward, Africans would be brought to America, bound and chained to be slaves. It was at this juncture where Africans would see the American flag waving high, flowing in the winds on ships that tore them from their families, crossed the Atlantic Ocean to a strange land, and be forced into servitude for the next 246 years. The abolition of slavery would face a tough battle from as early as 1790 through the time of the Emancipation Proclamation given on September 22nd, 1862. Many people mistakenly praise the Emancipation Proclamation as being the end-all to slavery. In fact, this was only partially the case and was not immediate. Did you know that the Emancipation Proclamation was given in 2 parts? Yes, this is true. Upon reading the transcript of the proclamation, it starts off September 22nd of 1862. But the directive is not in effect until January the 1st, 1863. And during that time, it was reread in January of 1863. Did you also know that the Emancipation Proclamation did not free all slaves? It is commonly misunderstood that the Emancipation Proclamation released all people that were enslaved, and it is also believed that the releasing of slaves happened immediately. Both of these assumptions are false. Upon reading the Emancipation Proclamation carefully, the releasing of slaves were specifically for the enslaved in the rebellion states, or more known as the states that seceded from the Union, or also known as the Confederate States. That brings us to this next very important date. You may not have known about this date. It's a holiday celebrated in the month of June that is called Juneteenth. In fact, the holiday is Juneteenth and the date is June 19th. The date June 19th, 1865 is when the Union, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. You should also take very careful note of the date. That was 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was delivered by Abraham Lincoln, and 2 years after the effect date. Juneteenth became a time where former slaves gathered their remaining families and celebrated. To this day, many Black Americans make a pilgrimage to Galveston, Texas to celebrate Juneteenth and remember the day that their families had now become free. Texas also became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday. Every year, Juneteenth is celebrated across the nation among Black people. It is known as our Independence Day. For many years, America lived on the founding principles: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And all men are created equal, unless you had dark skin and were not of European descent. Freedom for the Texas slaves came at a high price. It is recorded that some of the masters did not let their slaves know that they were free until after the harvest season so that they would gain more money from their slave labor. It is also recorded in these quotes that lots of Negroes were killed after freedom, bushwhacked, shot down while they were trying to get away. You could see lots of Negroes hanging from trees in Sabine Bottom right after freedom. I wish I could talk to you all day about what this month means to honoring the sacrifices that Black people made, but it would take more than a month. As I come to a close, I'm reminded of a friend of mine asking me, why was there a month to recognize Black history and not white history? I simply made this statement. When you learned that Thomas Edison created the light bulb, did you learn that the filament that made the light bulb work was invented by a Black man? No? When you learned that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, did you learn that Lewis Howard Latimer, a Black man, was the person who drafted the patent for Bell's phone? No? These are the reasons we celebrate and speak Black history in the month of February. It is easy to call out the most visible leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Fred Shuttlesworth. But how much real Black history do you know? Did you know that there was a Black national anthem? The song titled "Lift Every Voice and Sing"? No? Let me share some of the words with you. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the presence has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our people sighed? We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the bright gleam of our bright star is cast. There's one more verse, because religion has always played a part of black history and civil rights, and a place where like-minded people gathered. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forgot Thee. Shadowed beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God and true to our native land. Powerful words. Thank you for allowing me to spend a little bit of time with you today discussing the history of black people in America. Just as we can never forget 9/11, we must always understand black history. Understanding black history helps us understand one another. Thank you.